In recent weeks, there was the 5th largest gathering in American history, the 7th largest gathering in human history. Who can guess what that gathering was? Well, I'll tell you. It was not the inauguration. It was not the march the following day. The 5th largest gathering in U.S. history was after the Chicago Cubs took the pennant. People had been waiting since 1908 to celebrate in the streets. And people gathered from wide and far. Now again, what was remarkable is this was a team that had accrued such a following, although it lost year after year. As if there was no correlation between the love of the team and its success. What's remarkable is how sports draws our passions. I saw a photo of a little boy in a New England Patriot outfit, and the boy wasn't even big enough to hold a football yet. Which is to say that people from a very early age are given their sports identities. And tomorrow with the Super Bowl, it'll be once again that fight between the North and the South. And people will be identifying with one team in a passionate way. Now, the passion for a sports team is not to be underplayed. The cost of that ticket to that football game tomorrow, not to be underestimated. Which is only to say that we as people have a natural leaning, a natural need to be part of a larger group. And our group is the best group. Years ago, I remember T groups. A lot of people thought that they stood for transactional groups in the early 70s when I first started college. They were actually named for the Thames River, and that they started in England. They would bring together groups to have encounter groups, to talk and be open. And they found with T groups that when people were surveyed, people consistently said that theirs was the best group of any. So again, the first thing to know is that we are wired on some level to be security seeking. And security seeking is to find those around us who are like us and to be close to them and to know that we're on the same team. Now, there's a part of me that wants to talk about football, so I'll just say a few words. But mostly, I'm going to be talking about what it means to be Jewish and what it means to be American. But the little aside, my daughter Anna is in a class at University of Michigan on documentary photography. There's only 11 students in the class, and 6 are on the University of Michigan football team. And she said to me on the phone yesterday, she said, "Dad, for the first time I get football." She says, my teacher, who's this world-famous photographer who has been taking photos of the football team as one of his key passions, which is why half the class are football players, she said he showed us all these photos, and it was a photo of the players praying together before the game and helping a player who had fallen, and that sense of the care, and then celebrating when they won. I understood that there's so much emotion and passion in football. And it's true. But the other free association is the movie Concussion that came out last year, which demonstrates that there is brain damage in the game of football. And we who watch football, I don't watch a lot, but I will watch tomorrow, because it's the Super Bowl. And it's not the same, I say this for some in the Kahal, it's not the same watching the football after the fact with TiVo. I've heard that suggestion. But we overlook the fact that it really is violent and that it's the gladiators of our day. That's the other thing that we have hardwired, some with testosterone more than others. And that is the banging of heads is really engaging. It grabs our, not just attention, we flow with it. We put aside the fact that those brains are moving around, and it's just exciting. And so it's very important, wakefully, to be aware of where we choose to, sort of speaking, bracket reality and go with entertainment, even though I'm really troubled by it, because it's our national sport, and we each have teams. Now, one other thing to know is that, the coach of the Patriots, you want him to be rooting for his team. But if the commissioner of football is rooting for the Patriots, that's a problem. Because we have different roles, even in watching a football game. And there is the team while it's on the field, and then there is other roles and responsibilities. So that's part one. Part one is to know we are hardwired to want to have us and them. Don't get away from it. It's reality. We are hardwired to say, that's my team, and we're the best, and you're not. And we're hardwired to bracket reality and to say, I don't care if this is blood sport, it's fun to watch. That's just reality. Now religion. Blood sport? No. Can be, has been, for the very same reasons. In the Middle Ages, every religion said, only God talks to us. The Jews said it. And don't let any apologist tell you otherwise. When the prophet Zechariah says, and his name will be known as one, that's our God. Everybody else is going to figure out and come pray to our temple. They're all going to come to Jerusalem because God only talks to us. Christians said, great. God got a new Israel, a New Testament, a new revelation. You want to go to us. Muslims came along and said, Quran, God's word directly. No critical methodology needed. Not a human document like the Bible or like the New Testament. This is the direct revelation. I was once at a gathering with an imam, priest and a minister, and I was representing the Jews, and my Muslim counterpart shared that perspective. The Christians were really shocked that the New Testament had been supplanted by the Quran. Didn't bother me. I'd been told my whole life that the Torah had been replaced by the New Testament. The minister, after who I consulted with, who had put this thing together, this panel, she told me her people were so upset. But I share that because that was true for Judaism too. Still is for many Jews. We got the word, the others are wannabes. But there's a change that's occurred for some, both in religion and even in politics. See, there was a time with nationalism as well, where nationalism was, we're the superior country to all other countries. End of story. And then there was something called the League of Nations and the United Nations, and people started at least trying to talk to each other. And it's made a difference. There hasn't been a world war for 70 years, plus years. That's a big deal. There's a lot of wars before, big wars. World War I, World War II. You've had a lot of wars, but nothing quite like that. And so, it's only natural to say, I got the truth. It's only natural to say, I have the best team. It's only natural to say, I'm not going to look at what that might lead to, even though it hurts people, because it's pretty engaging right now. There's a book on Happy Note, Secrets of a Happy Family. And the book was put together by Bruce Feiler when he had children to figure out what he could do to raise his children to be happy as a family. And here's the link to our Torah reading. The link to our Torah reading is one of the things that he shared that's really essential for families is to tell your family's story. Because by telling your family's story, you create identity, and that gives you a sense of a place in the world, belonging, and confidence. And he said regarding the story we read today, and he wrote it as an editorial in the New York Times before Passover, that when we gather as families to tell the story of being slaves in Egypt, and we do that as families, that's how we build our identity and community. It's a very weird story that we read this morning in the following way. It's rare for an ancient people, 2,000-3,000-year-old story, for people to talk about their ignoble past, how they were slaves. In Greek mythology, Babylonian, you talk about how the gods blessed you and how you were the chosen, how you were the mighty. In this case, we're taught about being slaves. And that motif will reoccur over and over and over in the Torah, and it will say, remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt. Take care of the widow and the orphan and the stranger. Remember what it was like when you had no power. It is now your responsibility by that collective memory to be a cause for justice. Righteousness, righteousness you shall pursue. Why? Because the Torah's key narrative is that there is a parent of all peoples. Christians, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, Hindus have the same parent, God. And the message of the Torah isn't often grasped because we're only human and we're fearful. And that drives us again to doing two things, to being groupish when we're afraid and to being willing to overlook bad stuff because it's entertaining or meets our needs. But the message of the Torah is if there is a parent, God, nothing gives a parent greater joy than the kids getting along with each other, not hurting each other. And right? When the kids fight, it's like that's when you lose your temper because how can they do that? So, not you, I'm talking me now. And nothing gives a parent greater happiness and joy when the kids love each other, when they enjoy being together. And that's the key message of Torah in terms of its message of justice. That's what the prophets are railing against. What the prophets are railing against on behalf of God is injustice, of not having rules that are abided to fairly. And that is at its best religion. For at its best, religion acknowledges that there are many ways of being our best. Christianity has a powerful message of love. And Islam has a powerful message of humility and submission. And Judaism has a powerful message of righteousness, and those messages are part of all three religions. And the same for Buddhism and Hinduism as collective values. They're all expressions of what it means to be our best as humans. And so, in this week, I'm drawn to the Statue of Liberty as well. Here's something that I didn't know till this week. That the model for the Statue of Liberty was a young Muslim woman. And the poem on the bottom is written by a Jewish woman. And together they define the diversity of America. The words of Emma Lazarus that frame the message of what it means to be American. I saw pictures this week of the Tea Party gatherings in which Justice Anton Scalia's wife was in charge on behalf of the Tea Party, promoting the Tea Party. And what she sold as the symbol of the Tea Party was the Statue of Liberty crown. When there were protests last week, what did people wear? The Statue of Liberty crown, representing both sides of America. But what links us to each other as Americans is that ideal of the Statue of Liberty, which we may interpret differently, and yet is our clarion call. The last before I read the words of Emma Lazarus is to return to the happy family, and that is for us to be a world in which people are happy. Our prayers guide us. For all the praying that we do in our prayer books this morning lead to the prayer for peace, that all people should see in each other brother and sister of equal worth, for that is what God would want. Now, Emma Lazarus writes in her poem, The New Colossus, not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Quote, keep ancient lands, you storied pomp. Unquote, cries she with silent lips. Quote, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, I, the child of refugees, know the privilege of standing in this open land in which history is made when religions of diversities address each other with respect. You see, that panel that I sat on of Muslims, Christians, and Jews would not have occurred 50 years ago and would not have occurred in other countries, for that is America. May we take pride and feel the light of your presence, God, who gives life to us all. Amen. Rebecca continues to lead us